Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host tonight, Bill Hannon, and I have with me a couple of co-hosts, Kathy Medeiros and Ken Demers. Tonight we're graced with the presence of Steve Kaufmann. Our topic tonight is going to be on something that he has been very focused on over the past few years, and he's made a lot of headway, both understanding and also being able to implement some of the changes in his life concerning awareness. So, good evening, Stephen. How are you?
Good evening, Bill. Thank you. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Doing real good.
That's good. Well, we had touched on this a while. We've touched on other topics as well, such as different modalities of healing and whatnot, but I'm aware, I haven't talked with you off and on, that you're really interested with this focus on awareness. So if you could give us maybe just a quick overview as to what you've been made aware of or what you sense.
Sure. Well, I was very fortunate that I stumbled over the book in itself. I had $4 credit for a used book, and I was searching the bookstore for a $4 book. And I saw this book, and the cover was bent, and the book was pretty beat up, but I opened up the book, and it was $4.
Yeah.
So I bought the book, and I had bought other books as well.
Yeah, right.
So I took the books home, and I read every other book except for the $4 book. I said, well, if it's only $4, it can't be that great.
Right.
So I finally got a chance to read that book, and when I read it, I just couldn't put it down. It grabbed my attention, and from that moment on, I've been kind of like obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. in a good way. Mm-hmm. It meant so much to me, understanding what this guy was talking about. This Anthony DeMello wrote this awareness book, and he was a Jesuit priest and a psychologist, and he's worked in the field for many, many years. And he just explained the fact that most people have very little awareness.
Right.
We walk through life sleepwalking. We do everything today based on what we did yesterday.
Well, it's not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes if you start becoming aware of things, you're not happy with what you see.
That's why on the book it says that the book we can get a lot out of this book. But right under the title, it says the perils and opportunities of reality. So I didn't read that part. And all of a sudden I'm faced with some perils.
Now you're on the hook.
Now I have some perils in my life after becoming aware of certain things that happened. And finally, when I got around to reading that subtitle, The Perils and Opportunities of Reality, I realized that, the truth can sometimes be hard. The truth can hurt a little bit, but the truth is the truth.
What kind of subjects would you considering perils after you read the book?
Well, Anthony DeMello takes us, in his book, he takes us and gives us a way of observing ourselves in action. And when we observe ourselves in action, we actually can see what our expectations of others, the need to have someone tell us we're okay. So through self-observation, which he lays out very nicely in the book, I became aware of how unaware I really was. And it was like, it took me back to realize that I thought I was a pretty aware guy. I really had, I see clients, and I work with other people, and I have good awareness when I'm with my clients. But if I'm not in that mode, I noticed that my awareness isn't all that great. So just knowing that I'm not very aware most of the time was a revelation.
Now, does that mean that being aware of the moment, being conscious of what's going on at that very second? Is that what
exactly.
that means? Okay.
The way Anthony DeMello describes it is whenever we're out and about in the world having communications with other people, if we feel a negative feeling in us, that's when we should be observing what is going on.
Okay.
Because usually a negative feeling is a trigger to a belief system that we have, and that belief system is being triggered. For example, I have a belief system that people that drive on the highway should be courteous. And every time I go on the highway, that expectation of people being
Right.
courteous leads me to having disappointment because very few people are. So that's an example of that belief system of people should be courteous on the highway. And then I found out months later, I was driving on the highway and I was aware of the courteousness, and all of a sudden a person became courteous on the highway. And I said out loud, wow, I'm finally seeing someone being courteous on the highway. And then I got angry. A negative emotion came up in me with anger. And I said, what's this anger all about? And then I realized he wasn't being courteous to me. He was being courteous to someone else. So my belief system about people being courteous on the highway was shot.
Yeah, it wasn't just being
Yeah,
courteous on the highway, it's being
They have
courteous
be
to you.
courteous to me at all times. I'm important.
Aren't there more people that are courteous than negative
If
on the highway, in general speaking?
If we go out on the highway expecting people to be courteous, we won't see that. We have
I
to
do.
be. We have to. Well, it's like when you buy a new car. When you have your new car, you see a lot of those cars on the highway. But
Yeah.
until that point, you don't even notice them.
But there's got to be, in my mentality, I see the idiots,
yeah.
but there's probably 10 more people that'll slow down and let you get in.
I'm so focused on my belief system of people being courteous that all I note is people that are not courteous, so that I can say, yeah, there's one. I never point out the people that are, the people that give me a break, or if I give someone else a break.
So the awareness is basically like what you believe to be versus like yourself versus other people in the interaction.
Well, the awareness that I'm talking about is the negative. If we get a negative feeling when we're having a communication, or if we're out in the world, if a negative feeling comes up in me, I know that something out there isn't going according to me, according to the way I believe.
Oh, okay.
And when that happens, then I have to say, okay, what is it? What is this belief system that's being triggered?
Right.
And the more information I get, the more evidence I get
Right.
on this belief system and how it's holding me back from experiencing life fully.
Right.
Because normally I'm out driving, and the only thing I'm focusing on are the uncourteous people on the highway. I'm not seeing the dogs and the birds flying and the sun shining. All I'm focusing on is people that aren't playing by my rules in my belief systems.
So it's the self-awareness more than anything.
Yes,
Right.
self-awareness. It's all about self-awareness.
And I find it interesting. I mean, I'm associating different words with, like, instead of in harmony, basically you're saying discord.
Yes.
You
yeah.
know, and that's what you're experiencing is that.
That negative feeling is there's a discord going on.
Right, discord, right.
Something's going against my belief system.
Right.
And the more I work on this, and I'm aware. When I first started this, I would be brought to awareness when I had a negative feeling. That's the way Anthony DeMello would like us to do this. And then after a while, I noticed that I'm aware of what I'm doing all the time, but the only time I'm really conscious of it is when a negative feeling comes up inside of me. Then I know that something's going against my grain. Something's being triggered in me.
Did you have any experiences with positive feelings with the self-awareness, or was it
Well,
just the
It's kind of
negative?
now that I'm working on this pretty consciously. I am aware of the good times, but usually, if you're really in the moment and you're just enjoying what is, you're unconscious of that because it's just happening and you're allowing it to happen. You know, it's just, it's very natural to be in that mode.
Yeah.
Right.
The only time that it's unnatural is when you feel the negative feeling, you know, the feeling of anger. You know,
Right.
you see someone and all of a sudden you get angry, and this person hasn't done anything to you.
Now, the average person, are they more aware of the positive, good stuff, or are they more aware of the negative?
Well, one of the things that I've noticed in working in working on my own awareness is I'm very critical of myself. If I can make a mistake and suffer the consequences of my mistake, but then I add consequences on top of that. Like I'll be doing something, and if I make a mistake, I'll call myself a name,
Yeah, you beat
or
yourself
I
up.
beat myself up.
Right.
Okay.
And I noticed that this has become very, very good for me. This is an area that I really need to focus on. Is I condemn myself all the time, and then I feel bad about that, and I try to find someone to blame for that, and you know, someone to take that feeling away that I'm choosing this myself. So through this awareness, I've realized that I'm making choices. And I'm taking action, and I'm not even thinking about it. It's just automatic. It's a reaction instead of an action. It's almost like a response.
Right.
Like when you go to the doctor and they check your reflexes.
Right.
We're so programmed by our conditioning, our belief systems, that we actually have we instead of acting accordingly to a situation, we react based on the belief systems that we have. And we don't even think before we do it.
Right, right.
It's
You,
like-
you
So
and I
the-
actually had a pretty interesting discussion a few months ago, and it centered around, you know, why do you do things for people?
Yeah, yep.
And even to the point where you were actually taking it down to the point, why do you love people?
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe you could share some of that, because I mean, a lot of people, you know, they run their life and they just don't shiver git about what they're doing or how they do it, and other people are just the reverse, and they're always thinking ahead, you know, all right, so how will this help this person and stuff like that, the goody two-shoe type of thing. But, you know, you and I had a good discussion on that, and
I've realized that I don't do anything for anybody unless there's something in it for me, period. Period. Unless there's something in it for me, no one gets anything from me. And even if it's a good feeling,
Well, I'm
there's
surprised at that.
there's still something in it for me.
Okay.
And when I can shine a light on that and realize that I'm a pretty selfish person, if you look at things that way. If everything is about me, you know, I'm the most important person in the room, and everyone needs to make me feel good or make me feel important. Knowing that has made me realize that, you know, that's been a driver in my life and in a lot of people's lives. You know, we do things for other people. If we need other people to make us feel good, there's something wrong with that equation. So if I have a need of someone to make me feel good, then I really need to look at that. And getting back to the self-condemnation that we talked about a few minutes ago, what I realized was that I treat others a lot better than I treat myself. I'll do things for people that I don't do for myself. So through this awareness and this understanding of what's making me tick,
right.
I've been able to start to be better to myself, to be more true to myself. I eat better, I exercise, I surround myself with good company, and I meditate. And when I do those things, it's not selfish, it's selfless. Because what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that I'm in good condition so that I can carry out whatever I have to do.
So it's like helping yourself to help others, so in turn, though, you'll be aware of what's really going on at the end?
Well, I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm really helping myself when I'm working with my clients. My clients are the best thing that ever happened to me because they're basically a mirror for me to see who I am and what I'm doing. And if by helping myself through them, it helps them, fine. But if I don't help them, fine. My clients realize this, that I don't really care if anything happens during the session. I really don't. If I care, it means there's something in it for me. So I have to be non-caring about what happens during the session.
Just to be there.
I just have to be there and do my thing. And if someone benefits from it, fine. I know that I'm going to benefit from it regardless.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, I mean, most of us here have done energy work on people, and we always have been made aware one way or the other that, when you're working with somebody or working on somebody, that the energy that's working to help the person you're trying to help is also helping you.
Yes.
So the thing is, coming from that point, there were a couple things that you wanted to tie to the work of
Definitely.
the awareness that I think that maybe we should now, seeing how you kind of given us a broad foundation as to what you're doing. There's like 4
Right.
trains of thought that you want to bring into the discussion.
Now, Anthony DeMello has it's like a 4-step process for the work that he's offering. I had to, after reading the book and trying to understand it and trying to put it into words that I could feel good about and explaining it to other people, I mean, I really need to have an audience so that I can bounce my ideas off of. And I decided that we had, in order to get anything done, to accomplish anything in life, there's 4 things that we need to do. 4 things have to happen in order for something to be completed. We take on a job, and in order for this job to be finished and completed, there's 4 things that need to be accomplished. The first thing is we have to be aware of what we're doing. For example, you have to be aware that you're trying to drive this nail into the board. So I have awareness that I have a nail and a board and a hammer. And once I have that awareness that I have everything I need, I have to have acceptance.
Okay.
Acceptance. I have to accept what I'm seeing. So we'll get back to the nail in the board. I have the nail in the board, and that I accept the fact that I have to drive the nail in the board. Now, if I don't go into acceptance and accept the fact, then I'm never going to be able to take the action to do the job. Non-acceptance has probably been one of my biggest hurdles that I've had to overcome since I was a child, because things in our life, we hear it on TV, this behavior is unacceptable, or this is unacceptable for a person to do. Well, in order for us to make sure that that unacceptable thing never happens again, we have to accept that it did happen. We can't just say, no, I don't accept this. And I think my biggest problem with the word acceptance in itself was the definition of acceptance. I thought that if I accepted something, I agreed with it. Acceptance doesn't mean that.
Sure.
So I'm in non-acceptance because I don't agree with whatever's being said. I was barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, I got you.
Basically, I just have to accept that whatever's happening is happening.
Right.
I don't have to like it. I don't have to condone it. I don't have to agree with it.
Right.
I just have to say it is what it is, period. I can't draw any other lines on it.
Right.
Once the acceptance happens and you accept what is, then you have an opportunity to take an action. Whatever is happening, once acceptance occurs, then an action can happen. If you're in non-acceptance, if you're saying, I don't agree with that, then you could never take an action, and nothing ever gets finished. And this was the story of my life. A lot of things that were going on in my life were unacceptable. And until I accepted them, I couldn't do anything about them. I had to accept it first, whether I liked it or not. And once I had the acceptance, then the last unique part is we have awareness, we have acceptance, we've taken the action, and now we have freedom. We actually have a freedom to be able to do what we did or fix what was wrong. So we have to go through the process, and this is for anything that we do.
I know, it sounds to me like actually if you look at the concept of picking up a task and taking it to fruition, that basically these are components that you deal with on just addressing the issue.
Exactly. I use an example when I'm seeing my clients is I use the example of I'm in a store and I know and there's an older woman standing in front of me at the store, and she turns around and she says hi to me, and when she does, she steps on my foot, and she's got her foot, she's standing on my foot. Now, first of all, I say, I'm aware, I have to be aware that someone's standing on my foot. And once I'm aware of that, then I have to accept it. And usually what we'll say is, oh, I can't, if I accept this, I'm going to have to tell this woman that she's standing on my foot, and I don't want to make her feel bad. So we'll be in non-acceptance of what is, just so that we don't hurt someone's feeling. But once I have awareness that someone's standing on my foot, then I accept the fact, yes, someone's standing on my foot. Now I can take the action to say, excuse me, ma'am, you're standing on my foot. And as a result of that, she'll take her foot off my foot, and now I have freedom of no one standing on my foot.
Right.
So it's a funny way of getting to the point, but everything we do in life has to go through these 4 steps before it can be manifested.
Yeah, gotcha. So now was there one more?
No,
item? Well, 4 items. We had the
four steps. We have awareness.
The 4th one, okay.
Yep. We had awareness. We had acceptance.
Right.
We have the action.
Action, right.
And sometimes no action. And a lot of people get that confused.
Right.
They think that they have to take an action. Well, sometimes no action is the better choice. And by doing no action, your action is no action.
Right.
So we're still taking an action. We're just not doing something acting. We're not acting.
Right.
And as a result of this, we have autonomy.
That's what I was getting at.
And the autonomy is freedom. I went to a class one time, and my instructor asked the question, what does every woman want? And I was racking my brain for what every woman wants.
Yeah.
Security.
And whenever she finally let the answer out, I was amazed. Because basically what she believes is every woman really wants to be autonomous. They want to be treated fair. They want to be heard.
Yeah.
They want autonomy. They want the freedom to be themselves. And a lot of women feel that they don't have that autonomy. They're not able to speak their mind. And freedom is something that we have to really fight for. It isn't something that's just given us. I mean, we're born free, but from the moment we can, we have to maintain our freedom. We have to fight for our freedom. We have to stand up for our freedom.
Right. Right.
And the feminine has a hard time standing up for the freedom, because there's an old saying that the first one through the door usually gets hurt, and that's what the women are afraid of. The men are built a little tougher. We have a tougher skin, bigger, different bones. We're built different than the women, and we can take the punishment of standing up for our freedom a little better than the women can. And I think what the women would really like is to have a man keep watching her back. A woman will stand up for her freedom and stand up to authority and stand up for her rights if she has someone supporting, coming from a supporting area. And most of the time, women will choose other women gather behind them and
There's
help
a
them.
consensus, right?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. It's, I mean, communication amongst women is
And where a man, we're kind of built that way from the day we're just little kids.
I mean, problem solvers,
I remember
meet head on.
even as a little kid going to grade school,
Right.
not allowing bullies to bully me.
Right.
I mean, that was like my first test as a little boy. A bigger boy would come up and try to take something from me. and I would come home bloodied because I just would not let anyone take something from me. It was like taking my freedom.
Right.
So I was more apt, and I think men are more apt to go through the door
Right.
and not worry about what's on the other side.
Right.
Now, do you teach this to people?
I see a few clients, and I'm pretty picky when it comes to my clients. I've had clients call me for other work, and I'm so fine-tuned into my awareness now that this is really what I want to do.
What kind of problems do they have when they come see you that they want you to solve or help them look into? And
Well, usually when someone comes in, I'll ask them, what is it that you would like to see from this session? What do you want? What kind of results do you want from me? And if they say something like, "Well, I want to be happy," I said, "Well, you're in the wrong spot because I can't make you happy." and that kind of gets them on backpedaling a little bit. And then I come in with my salesmanship, and I'll say, the only person that can make us happy is our own self. Happiness is in us. Why are we choosing not to be happy? And this gets the ball rolling
Right.
toward awareness.
Right.
Until I'm aware of why I'm not happy, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Right.
And then I got to say, okay, I'm not happy. I have to accept that.
Right.
And it just keeps going on. From
Well,
there.
I like to just take a moment here. I'm aware that we have a lot of people watching the show here, and I'd like to thank them for sitting in and watching Steve Kaufmann and myself with Kathy Medeiros and Ken Demers. Enjoy a good discussion on the book by Anthony DeMello on awareness. And Steve has really gotten into a lot of good results through uncomfortable internal work over the years, and I have to say I really appreciate my relationship with him. So I'd just like to maybe continue talking.
how do people find you?
Well, I think most of my clients love me.
I was thinking more in terms of a phone number. Or
Oh, how do
email.
people find me?
Yes.
They can find me they can email me at my email at skaufman5@cox.net.
That's a K-A,
Yes.
Kauffman number 5@cox.net.
okay.
So that's skaufman5@cox.net.
What is the 5?
It's just the number that they assigned to me.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't pick it.
No,
Okay.
no.
So we're wrapping up right now. Kathy, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? or-
Well, I think what you're doing is very interesting work, and it definitely helps me be more aware of the moment
Yes.
and aware of why I would feel the way I do.
Right.
As the ingrained of stuff,
Right.
it's like, okay.
I have to say I'm in the same position right now, and I find myself reflecting on my reaction to reactions or events as my reaction. Why am I reacting that way? And I think it's great, the book and his examples that he gave over time. So,
Thank you.
Stephen,
Appreciate
thank you very
being here.
much.
Yeah, it shows that you've been doing this a while, though, so you'll be able to help others, though, very well, though, in what you do without